Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today I have Mr. Richard Dancy, all the way from across the pond in the UK. He is a brand manager for Colourform. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate you taking time for us. This is it's an exciting line of products that you guys produce, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Can you tell us about your background? How did you get into sustainable packaging?
Sure, yeah. So we're part of the James Cropper Group, who've been making paper and innovating with color and fiber since 1845. So it's 176 years. So yeah, we have all the expertise for many, many years. I've been with the business just over 2 years. And I started in the paper division, and then we started Colourform, which is a separate business, but we started that just in 2016, so 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, that's a really exciting development and innovation for us, because it's not just, we're used to make hundreds and thousands of tons of paper in big reels as the as the raw material for packaging, but actually Colourform is the first time that we've actually produced the packaging itself. So that's really exciting. It's something different. You know, we offer a full service direct to brands where we can help and collaborate with the concepts and the designs and the ideas. And then, you know, in the UK, in Europe, we're about, I was just telling you, we're sort of about 4 hours north of London, in the north of England, in the Lake District, and we manufacture the finished product there as well.
Wow.
So yeah, that's Colourform.
And you were saying it's dark and cold and you're ready for the warm sun.
Yeah, I've had enough.
Aren't we all?
Of dark. You know, when you get up and it's dark and you go to work,
Yeah.
and there's a bit of light, and then you come home and it's dark, and you don't know, you've got nothing to, it doesn't feel like you want to do anything because it's cold and wet
100%.
and windy. But actually today it's been beautiful, blue skies, and it's starting to get light in the morning. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
bring on spring, bring on spring.
I think we're all ready for spring.
Yeah.
So you sent me some beautiful samples. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this, but if you're not, can you tell us about these different products? So basically what they are is molded pulp, but the most beautiful molded pulp I've ever seen. You guys have taken it to a different level with the custom colors and just the fine edges. Everything looks beautiful. What's the secret? How do you guys make this so nice?
Yeah, so I guess you've got quite a few samples there, and you've got, that's one of the first things that we started with. So actually we've moved on in the last 4 or 5 years. We've really moved on as well. So we started doing the idea was born from the likes of what you have there, which is a tray or an insert, sort of the interior packaging for maybe a mobile phone or a device that traditionally, the one before that you were showing, which was the tray, which is traditionally made of plastic, and we can produce a very high level luxury molded fiber product that is 100% monomaterial, any color you like. And a lot of the time people don't even believe that it's paper, because it feels just like plastic, really smooth, and like you say, a lot of detail, very, very fine. Our sweet spot, if you like, is luxury. Yeah. So whether it's premium drinks or cosmetics or perfume or electronic devices, that's what we're after. And then the other thing that you've got in your hand there, Cory, which is we call that poise. So that was the sort of the second generation, if you like, of what we can produce. So that's a beautiful small, could be a perfume bottle, it could be a drinks bottle, and it shows the shape that we can produce and the strength, and there's a clasp and a hinge, and that's one single piece made again of just fiber monomaterial. In fact, that one you've got there, like we were saying, has got some inclusions in it. So we're all about circularity and recyclability and telling a circularity story. So some of our clients, they've got something in the process of what they're manufacturing. So say if it's a perfume, it could be some, I don't know, rose petals or something, and you can dry those and put them in to the packaging as well. If there's waste material from that, you can actually put it in the packaging, which is really cool. And then we're probably now on the third or fourth generation of what we can do, which is, yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't send you one of these. The Ruinart champagne bottle, globally, it's a boutique champagne house in France, and they send across the world as part of the LVMH group. Ruinart, they took what they call the second skin, and we worked with them on that project, and that really is something beautiful. You know, everything that we do is bespoke, and it's designed. It takes the interiors of their cellar walls and it mimics it on the bottles, so they've got a unique texture. Cover, the clasp is beautiful, the embossing, and it's just fantastic. It's really exciting area to be in.
Yeah, well done. I've seen molded pulp for years, and I think Apple has always been kind of the gold standard. You guys have taken it to in my opinion, a next level with the embossing and debossing here. It's just incredible. I'm holding up a sample for listeners, but
that's the plinth. That's a duplex part.
Just beautiful.
It's really strong as well. That one is in white, but you can do it in like I said, any color. So we have our own color laboratory, a technical lab, that we can take anything. We've matched all sorts of stuff, brand colors. We even matched a brick. We worked with a hotel in New York, and they sent us a brick, and they said we want it that color. So we matched it to
Is that are these, I know it's not eggs, are they some kind of a beauty product or
right? So that's Lush, that goes across the globe, and it's for the bath bombs and the oils. So they're kind of not massively into packaging, but when they do have to have packaging, they wanted to use a really responsible, sustainable type of packaging. So again, that's probably one of our first iterations, and now we're moving into a lot more developed stuff. Everything we do is bespoke. So whoever comes to us, every time they come to us, it's a brand new project. It's really exciting.
That's one of my favorite parts of the packaging world is every day is different for me, and it sounds like you have the same system. I like how you can emboss or label the item without adding ink. It looks just stunning. Tell us a little bit about kind of the nuts and bolts of it. So it's 100% paper.
Yeah.
Where is it sourced? What's the post-consumer recycled content? Tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So like you say, every project is different. So it depends on the requirements of the client. For example, the champagne Ruinart bottle had to be, they wanted it white, and we use sustainable fibers. Most of our fibers come from Europe, and they're FSC regulated and certified. We also are able to offer post-consumer waste or post-industrial waste in our products. Post-consumer waste is the most exciting and the most popular. And I don't know if you've heard, or this has been covered by many media over the last probably 7 or 8 years, but we have what's called cup cycling. So we take single-use coffee cups, and we have our own world-class recycling plant, the only one in the world that takes coffee cups. And
that's amazing.
We've taken millions of coffee cups. We take them from McDonald's, Starbucks, from all around Europe, and we recycle, because it's actually, I'm sure you know, it's actually good fiber. It's a good premium fiber source, as long as you can get rid of that plastic liner on the inside, which is what we do in on-site, and we use that, so we can use that in the products as well. So we can use up to, I think in products now we're using 20% post-consumer waste. We could probably, depends on the product, but you can get it up to 50%, possibly even more. Depends what it is they want to do with it, which is really, really great. And the other thing that we do is, I know there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry sometimes around sustainability, but we are 100% green energy. People say, how can you prove that? We're looking at all sorts of different, we're audited and we're fine, but for anyone to audit us, but we show them the solar panels on the roof, because we've got huge solar panels, one of the biggest roof solar units in the UK. And so we have a small hydro plant, and we have solar, and that goes directly into our production. So that's really part of the story, and that's what brands want to do, really. You know, as you know, they're telling their whole story of their brand, and that's what customers want to see. And so we're able to offer that, which is great. It's really nice.
That's fantastic. A lot of companies made a lot of really big promises in the last year or two about how they're going to be this sustainable by 2025 or that sustainable by 2030. And it seems like making the choice of going from maybe a molded styrofoam tray to a Colourform paper tray would be a good sustainability option.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are many people moving that way. And as I said, you know, that's where we started back 5 years ago. We're now, our kind of sweet spot is telling the story for the luxury end of the market and the real bespoke. Yeah. So we're not doing millions and millions of units. We're doing perhaps somewhere between 500,000 and 2 million units of very, very high value items that are entirely bespoke and really have massive standout presence. You know, if you have a look at the Second Skin Ruinar on the shelf, it replaced a gift box that is,
wow,
it's 9 times lighter than the original gift box, and that was made of lots of different types of material. Whereas this is, like you say, totally recyclable. You just recycle it with paper. That's what we can do in the UK and in Europe. You just put it in with paper. And yeah, that's a great differentiator. I think, you know, Ruinar and LVMH have been amazed. I think we're up to like a dozen awards now, international packaging awards, for that one product, one design, because it really has disrupted the industry. You know, it's finally something that they can say, this is, you know, we've gone from here to here in one step, and it looks totally different as well. So when you're looking in the, you know, when you're in duty free and you're about to get on the plane or whatever, you're looking at all those bottles, this looks completely different, which is great. So we expect the market to go that way.
Oh, that's exciting. So I was going to ask you, what kinds of materials does this replace? But I think you just answered that question. You could replace, that was probably a wood box with foam inside and some kind of plastic.
Maybe even some metal bits in the catch. And,
Jeez,
you know, some of this stuff, I think, you know, the consumer now is looking at things like that and questioning whether it's a bit outdated, it's a bit over the top, even maybe slightly vulgar. You know, it's kind of too much. Whereas it's beautiful, it's minimalist, it's styled, it's fantastic, and there's a big sway in that innovation moving that way. We have loads of challenges. You know, every time we do something, it's completely new, and you know, some of the rest of the supply chain has to change as a result of some of this, and all the testing that has to be done, and you know, the Ruinar bottle needed to be light fast, so it was mimicked on the design of the kind of sommelier's towel around the bottle when they're serving. That was the kind of the idea.
That's neat.
But for those of you, as people watching on YouTube, they'll see behind me the Kiss box, which is our sort of brand new idea, and it's part of our Inspire collection, which is just looking at, it's a prototype of what kind of stuff that you can do. So this was a lipstick and a a lipstick and a not a blusher, you and I obviously don't buy lipstick, but
I don't know, a makeup product of some kind.
It's a cosmetics product, and it's completely monomaterial, but it's a big lips, and you open it up and it's got the product in there. It looks really great, and that's something that, you know, completely blows the market away, because you know, they've never seen anything like that unless it's made from plastic or loads of different types of material. Yeah.
Such an innovation, and kudos to you and your team for taking a different look at the way things can be packaged. It's so important when people come to us and try to be more sustainable that we say, well, let's look at this totally different. how can we totally transform how you're doing things? And like you said, it might take some changes in supply chain. It might take some changes in how you ship it to your consumer. It might take some changes in how it gets stored, but will all those be worth it if it's more sustainable? Well, let's make sure, and let's do an LCA and confirm that. I agree.
Right. Yeah, yeah. We just updating some of the LCA data that we have, but we have done that, and it's significantly improved. You know, you're talking
Yeah.
about, 50% improvements or more in the difference. And when you're shipping something that is 9 times lighter than what you were shipping before,
Yeah.
that again is a great story. And like we said, all these organizations have set out in their values and their ESG commitments that they're
Right.
going to hit these targets by this certain time, and I would say most of them don't know exactly how they're going to do that.
Oh, I would say 90% of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the stat that 90% of these companies that have made announcements have already claimed that they won't actually make these.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of scrambling.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll get a lot of phone calls, and I know we will too, and about how do we fix this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, they found there's a lot, like you say, kudos in being the first mover in these things, because it gets you the credibility, it gets you the PR, it gets you the interest, and actually you can build that into the model. If it's costs you a bit more, but actually you're seen as innovative, customers like it, consumers like it, it's the way to go. And we all have to go that way anyway, so let's get on with it.
I totally agree. It's interesting. I grew up in the Northwest of the United States, in Oregon, and we've always been very green. I think we were the first to do the bottle deposit for cans and attach a value to a waste product to get them back and encourage recycling, and constantly trying to do things like that are more sustainable. So when I was thinking of a podcast idea, this was immediately it. This is what I've been doing for 19 years.
Sure.
So I've been thinking about this for so long. It's time to share what we know, right?
Yeah. Well, likewise, when we were kids, we used to get our milk delivered on the doorstep in bottles, and then you put them out the next day and they get collected. Now, we stopped doing that for about probably 20 or 30 years, but now we do it again. It's crazy. We get our milk delivered, we put the bottles out, and there's no plastic that goes in the recycling anymore. So it just it's back to old fashioned. And also the dairy is down the road. There's not many miles covered in the whole chain. Yeah,
I love that. That's we're looking back at what was successful. Coca-Cola just announced that 25% of their packaging will be in reusable packaging in the next year or two, and that's exciting. They're going not just glass, but also plastic bottles that can be reused in perpetuity, as long as they're handled properly and not punctured. And that, to me, is awesome for sustainability.
Yeah, I was at the football last night, and they have these. I think you have them in the States as well. The quick filling beer that fills from the bottom. Goes really quick. There's like a magnet in the bottom, and they fill up really quickly. But they've all changed now to these thick plastic ones, and you just drop them in, and they wash them, and they use them, and it's so simple. But for years we've just been throwing them away, and there's like 52,000 people at every game, and they're not just having one. So
that's a lot of drinks
just for one game. Yeah.
I highly doubt there's many just that have one, but
I had one, actually.
Well, kudos to you, sir.
Yeah.
Your self-control is admirable. Well, tell us, other than the champagne, what's maybe your favorite project you've worked on so far?
Yeah, we have some really exciting projects coming out. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what they are, but I can tell you that they are in the beauty and cosmetics arena. They're based in Paris, and some of those luxury brands are really, really exciting. I think those who operate in that sector will have seen the Chanel #5 did a 100-year limited edition product. You want to keep your eyes out for those kind of innovations coming out into the market. They are really, really exciting. And again, I think the way that Ruinart has made a statement and disrupted the luxury drinks market, this is what you're going to see in the perfume and the cosmetics market very soon, really soon. So that's very, very exciting. I think the other exciting thing is those additional things that you can do. So at the moment, you're looking at, even I think the Chanel one had a printed label put onto it, which is extra cost and not so efficient. We're now printing directly onto the product, and as you say, some of them not even using any ink or any foil or anything,
right,
because but in some cases it needs to stand out, right? So you need to be able to read it. But we can print directly on to the product, which is crazy. It just looks beautiful.
that's impressive.
Because matching the label with the color of the packaging, you can always tell the difference. But if you can put it directly on, it just looks beautiful.
How is it printed? Is it pad printing?
It depends on the product. There's various options, but
I'm looking at the product behind you, and it's a 3-dimensional, set of lips, but the print looks,
Well, that's actually not printed. So that is a 4-piece item, or 3-piece depending, and actually the words kiss are cut out. It's a duplex, so the second color comes through. So you'll be seeing, if you keep an eye on my social or whatever, you'll Colourform social, you'll see the different things that you can do. And I think Avilio showed the orb, the jewelry orb that we did.
Yes, beautiful.
With the watch or the ring, you have different textures. You can have it smooth, you can have like a leather effect, or absolutely any effect that you like. And you can have your logo on there, you can emboss it, deboss it, have whatever you want. I mean, actually the biggest challenge for us, which is why we came out with the Inspire collection, is to say, look at these kind of things you can do. You don't have to do this one. You can take an element from that one, and we've got a bottle topper which takes the story of the brand through from. So we use our brand. So the James Cropper brand has a bird. It's actually a pout. It's called a pouter pigeon as part of the crest and the sort of the emblem.
Yeah, I see that on here.
Yeah, it's like a hallmark. Yeah. And it might be difficult. Yeah, you can just about see that. Yeah,
just barely.
Yeah, and so we took that theme and we said, why not make the pigeon head and have it as a bottle topper? And it just looks stunning. You can have that in any color. And the idea is not to produce bottle toppers. The idea is to say, what is your brand communicating to your audience? And what cool things could we do? Maybe it's a Firebird and we can create some smoke or something. Who knows? And so rather than people coming to us and saying, oh, that's not right for us, it's challenge us to do stuff. What is it that your brand says? Do you have an animal? Do you have a logo? Do you what is it that you can pull through to communicate in your packaging, not only a sustainability story, but just something different, and has something in retail? It has a shelf presence to stand out that looks beautiful. And by the way, you can just recycle it with your paper.
Amazing.
Yeah.
My company Landsberg Aurora has a really cool sunburst as the logo, the Aurora, the O.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of how could we use that for some kind of a packaging. We make wine bottles in Australia.
Right.
We could do something there. So we'll be in communication, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Is the material also compostable?
Yeah, so it is, because it's just made of pulp. We don't use that term on our literature because I'm sure where it can actually be composted. You say compost, we say compost. So it can be, if there's industrial composting going on, then of course, yeah, it can be. But and I guess you can put it in your garden waste if that's what you want to do. It would be no problem whatsoever. But it's not a term that we generally use, because it's composting. Well, as you know, needs to come on. It needs to develop a lot more.
Yeah, I'd rather see it recycled myself. I think we need to keep those fibers in play, and that the more we can recycle, the better, in my opinion. So well done.
Yeah.
So how can we get in touch with you? How can a brand reach out to you? Should they go to the website? Should they email you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can do all those things. So they could go to colourform.co.uk or jamescropper.com, and they can have a look at my LinkedIn. So Richard Dancy, DAN for November, Charlie Yankee, that's me. And yeah, they can email us and get in contact that way. Yeah, would love to hear from you. We'll be, for those people in Europe, Europe's opening up now. So we'll be at there's some great packaging shows, luxury packaging shows in Europe, Lux Pack, Premier Packaging, PCD Paris, so in Milan, Paris, and Monaco. So you can come and see us there too.
Will you be at those shows, or do you have a marketing team that goes?
Yeah, no, I will be there. Yeah, all willing, everything working. The Paris one was should have been in January, and that's been put back to May. So it's May, June, and October is the main shows. Yeah, and if you're ever in the UK, then you need to come up and see how we've been making paper for 176 years on site,
I'd love that.
on the same site. Yeah.
I'll tell my boss it's for work, so I have to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. We really appreciate this. I'd like to thank Landsberg Aurora for sponsoring the podcast. And if you're listening, please subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about us so we can make more great episodes. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you very much. Great to talk to you. All right.